My name is Brian Watkins, and this is a video tutorial for Module 7, the Direct Labor Variance Report. Hopefully you've reviewed the materials I posted regarding variances, how they're computed, and what this report is actually saying. So let's get started. This is the Direct Labor Variance Report, prepared by yourself. Prepared on this spreadsheet will prepare a calendar year report of both the labor rate and efficiency variances using standard costs and the actual costs throughout the year. Good. Alright, now we're going to make columns A through J 12 characters wide, and then we're going to wrap our purpose line only in the first 4 columns. And we're doing it differently this time for reasons of output that I will show you later. There we go. Using standard. We could get rid of standard and actual costs throughout the year. That's better. Okay, now we're going to put a title here. Total, whoops, bold and underline. Total direct labor variance report for the year ending 2012. And we're going to access that title later when we do our graph. So the first section of our report is going to be the budgeted direct labor costs. Okay, now every business that's over a certain size, it becomes almost mandatory for that business to figure out how much each process costs so that they can manage those costs. Obviously, if you're just running a very small business, it doesn't make sense to do all those time and management studies. Use somebody else's studies. So you're going to have a standard hourly housekeeping rate. This is the amount per hour that we pay our housekeeping staff, and we figured out what that amount should be given the prevailing economic circumstances, and the standard hours per room. Standard hours, well, let's make that a little more. Standard hours to clean one room. Okay, and then we have the standard labor costs per room, and we also are going to have a total. Actually, let's put a space there to emphasize that that's its own information. Okay, we're going to put an X and an equal sign. There we go. And that will show what we're trying to do here is to take the standard hourly housekeeping rate and multiply it times the standard hours. So let's put a total format here in, actually not D, D doesn't give us enough room. No border. Let's go to E. E gives us plenty of room. Okay, now we're going to make our bar go as far as J, and let's put a light green, which we will then use for these two, which are user entered. So let's put 850 in the one and 0.9 in the other, and we're going to essentially, let's just use the accounting format for the 850, comma format for the 9, and I got ahead of myself again. Alright, let's take these, go across one, and do a Control Shift F3 to name. Okay, so now I have, let's check, I've never done this with a blank line, so let's make sure it worked. There we go. It refers to 10, 11, 12, and 14. It worked just fine. Alright, so here we're going to take our hours. Didn't come up, so we'll have to use F3 here. Standard hourly housekeeping rate times, and it didn't come up because I didn't move it. A little slow off the start today. Control X and Control V, and we'll start over again. Put our colors there, put our total in place there. Actually, there's no color in that one because that's calculated, but I will have color there where the rooms go. Okay, so 8.5, 0.9, and let's say we've got 250 rooms in that hotel. So let's use the accounting format. We'll use the comma format, and we'll do comma format on this, but take off those decimals. And the reason for that is we want to make sure that if we enter a number like 1,000, it puts that comma in there and keeps it in line. So make sure you format everything. So that's 250, and then this is going to be standard rate times standard time. Okay. We keep track of our costs by figuring out how much it should cost to clean one room. And it costs the rate times that 0.9 hours. And that's $7.65. So that's our standard cost per room. Now in the real world, you rarely hit your standard. So we'll have our actual direct labor costs, and it's to be expected that things are going to happen. Sometimes you might go slow, sometimes you might go fast, sometimes you might have great employees, sometimes you might need to train them more. Okay, so now we're going to have an actually we're going to have some headings here, so let's go down one more. An actual labor hourly rate. We're going to have actual hours to clean one room, and then actual labor costs per room. Then we're going to come down and we're going to take our total rooms, multiply that times an occupancy percentage, because your hotel might be half full. You might only be cleaning essentially 125 rooms in a month if your hotel is half full. Then we're going to multiply times the number of days in the month, which as we know changes, and then we'll get the effective total rooms cleaned. So let's put our little marks in, and times equals, and let's slide all of those over. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to define our names. So I don't want to confuse total number of rooms with that, but we'll save some time here. So Control Shift F3. Now we've got our names, but we're going to have to do something to these names because our actual and our actual costs are going to go throughout this entire year. Okay, I just did an edit, and before I edited, I expanded these columns to 12, and I justified all my months to the right side. So there's a couple things that happened when you weren't looking. So if we go to Formulas and Name Manager, we're going to get rid of total rooms there. We don't need that. And we're going to look at the actual hours to clean one room. So let's close this here, right now actual hours is right next to this, so we're going to Control X and we're going to Control V. So now we have these numbers, and make sure you do this step with the E column selected. When I say selected, I mean this. Your selection is wherever you click, wherever that black box is, that's what's selected. So select your E column before you do this next step, because we're going to change the default way that Excel describes its variables. Historically, when we describe a number, that means that every cell in our report will point to the same standard hourly housekeeping rate. But the actual labor hourly rate is going to change from January to February to March. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that actual labor always stays on the same row, but we want to make it flexible as to columns. So let's take our actual labor hourly rate, we're going to edit it, and we're just going to take the dollar sign off the column. So now actual labor hourly rate refers to anything in row 19, and it's flexible as to its column. Okay, we've done that with actual hour. Now let's do that with hours to clean a room. Take that first dollar sign off. Okay, and then we're going to do the actual labor costs per room. Yes. And we're going to edit that one. Just take that off. And occupancy percentage, we'll do the same. Check the box does. Good, okay. I should be hitting that. The number of days, again, is going to change. So we'll take that, edit that. Okay, and total rooms cleaned. Good. Okay, now you can see why we had to select E, because before we move on, we want to make sure that everything lines up. So when I select something, these ones without the dollar sign, they're going to change, but for right now, everything should line up, and there should only be these four: standard hourly housekeeping rate, hours to clean a room, standard labor cost per room, and total numbers of rooms that should have dollar signs by them. Because no matter where we are in the columns on this report, we always want column E for the standard rate. Okay, now when we do it that way, unfortunately our name box doesn't work as well. Right here our name box says total number of rooms, but here we're going to have to use the F3 function to get our names. That's okay, we can do that. So let's do some formatting before we move on. We're going to have the actual labor and hours supplied by the user. So we're going to color code that the same as our color bar. That looks right. And our occupancy percentage, number of days, and not number of days, we're going to hard code those. There we go, occupancy percentage. This is going to be a total, and total rooms cleaned will be a total. So a new function now. I'm going to teach you the rand between function. So if I push my arrow down and then I hit my tab key, there's a shortcut for you. Rand between selects an integer, meaning a number without a decimal, just a round number, between two ranges. And we're trying to think of data that would kind of float around that 850. So it could be anywhere from $7.50, assuming that's your minimum wage, to as much as $10 an hour if there was some strange labor shortage you had to deal with. Now it's going to pick a number between 750 and 1,000, so to make it into a dollar and cents, I'm going to multiply it times 0.01, which has the effect of putting that decimal place and turning that into $10 and this into $7.50. So it came up with 852. That's wonderful. And the hours to clean one room, let's say we could go anywhere from, say, 70 to an hour and 1.1 hours. And you can use whatever numbers you want here, but they have to be reasonable, meaning, you know, you're not going to pay somebody $1 an hour. Okay, so 71, that looks good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create the actual labor cost per room. And we're going to do that by multiplying the actual labor hourly rate times F3, the actual hours to clean one room. Okay, and that will be our actual labor cost per room, which we're going to make into currency. All right, now total rooms. I warn you, do not hard code this. Here is your total rooms. Once the user enters 250, we want everything in the spreadsheet that refers to total rooms to refer to that 250. It's easily done. Format it with a comma. Get rid of the decimals. Okay, the occupancy percentage, well, you can't be more than 100% full. So say our hotel goes anywhere from 75% to 100% full. And again, we have to put 0.01 in there because we want this to be a percent. So we're going to change the 94 to 94%. The number of days in January hasn't changed a whole lot. It's always going to be 31. And we're going to have to go through and do this individually for each one. So I'm going to comma format, get rid of the decimals. Now it lines up. Okay, so total rooms cleaned equals, that's not going to work. So we're going to say equals total number of rooms time, well actually it's probably better, total number of rooms, I'm not going to make it more complicated than it needs to be, times the F3 and say occupancy percentage times F3 number of days, and that gives us an effective total rooms cleaned. So effectively our staff cleaned 7,285 rooms in January. So let's take this and we'll copy it all the way down, and there's our actual numbers. So the use of the rand between is a great way to fill these in, but don't be freaked out. It's a volatile function, meaning it recalculates every time you do a mathematical entry on your Excel. Let's see here, I'm looking for the, here it is, calculation options, and right over here, calculate sheet. If I calculate the sheet, all these numbers change. Okay, that's not a problem, don't worry about it, that just happens. Alright, so there's our actual direct labor costs. Now we're going to have the variance summary report. Okay, and we want to make sure people understand what that we have favorable and unfavorable. There we go. So let's enter that. We're going to go out this far here, and we'll use kind of a light red, I guess. Alright. And we can shrink the A. We want to keep this visible in the first 4 columns. We're going to shrink it just a bit more. There we go. Okay, now the variance summary report is the heart of the report. We're going to also have our months. So January, and pull on that fill tab and just pull it all the way out here to December. Good. And this one will look good centered. So we'll center that. And now we're going to have the actual direct labor costs, and then after that the budgeted direct labor cost. The difference between those two is your total direct labor variance. And we're going to put a total there. So you find your actual direct labor cost quite easily. You take your actual labor actual labor cost per room, and you multiply that times F3 again, the total rooms that you cleaned. And that gives you your actual cost. So we'll put that in an accounting format. Now our budgeted cost, we thought that we were going to spend $765 for each of the total rooms cleaned. So we thought we were going to spend $48,000. Now to get the variance here, it's the bottom minus the top. It's the budgeted minus the actual. Okay, and you know you got it right. If I spent more money than I budgeted, I have an unfavorable. See, unfavorable has brackets. So I went $8,592.06 over what I thought it should cost. Now, that overage consists of two different components. You have labor rate variance, and you have a labor efficiency variance. Your costs change by two variables. Either your labor was too expensive or your labor was not efficient enough. And by measuring both of those, you prevent yourself from making stupid decisions, such as if you're paying people $15 an hour, but each person you pay $15 an hour can do the work of three $7.50 an hour employees, then by all means keep the one person that's as efficient as three. But sometimes companies fail to see that. Alright, those two variances added up should equal your direct labor variance. And we'll do a really easy check figure at the end. So here's our total. Okay, now this is where you have to be very careful, and you have to make sure that you've understood. Let's see. I posted these. I want to make sure you got them. So the direct labor variance, you start with your standard hourly rate, and then actually we should have brackets around this. Standard hourly rate minus, let's do an F3 here, the actual labor hourly rate. And then we take that and we multiply it times the actual hours per room. Actual hours, clean one room. Then the whole thing gets multiplied by the total rooms cleaned. Okay, so there is your direct labor variance. Your rate variance, rather. Okay, so now we'll do the efficiency variance. Pre-format it. Okay, so we have our parenthesis, and the efficiency variance speaks to how well your people clean. So we're going to do the standard hours to clean one room minus the actual hours to clean one room, which we have to use F3 for, actual hours to clean one room. And then we're going to multiply that times the standard rate. Standard rate. There we go. And then again times the total rooms cleaned. Okay. So it looks like our rate variance was 62. We were pretty close there. But according to these numbers, we saved a ton of money by being efficient. Okay, so these numbers will change, but the total variance comes from the rate variance plus the efficiency variance. Okay, these two numbers have to be equal. So if I take this number and subtract that, let's just make that a comma format. That's your check figure. If they're not equal, you have problems. So let's just take all our good work and copy it down to December. There we go. So when you read these, you can see what's going on in these various months. So that's part of our report. Now what we're going to do is a graph, and we're going to use the graph to illustrate what's going on with our numbers over the year. So to do a graph, we're going to take and just highlight our variances. Okay? We'll pick up the titles later, but let's get our data. So we've highlighted our data, our direct labor rate, direct labor efficiency, and our total direct labor variance. And then we're going to insert let's do a line graph. So here's our graph. Now we need to do some editing on our graph. Let's see if we can't stretch it out. Nope, I don't want to pull it around, I want to stretch it. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to click on the numbers, select my data, and instead of Series 1, I'm going to edit Series 1 and call it direct labor variance. So there's the rate. Now I'm going to select Series 2, edit it. Series 2, the red line, is going to be direct labor efficiency variance. There we go. And then Series 3, edit that, and that's the total. So now we have our names right. Now our horizontal axis labels, did I get that right? I want to edit my horizontal axis labels. It lets me select the range. Obviously I want January through December. Okay, so now my horizontal axis labels are good. So we'll hit OK here. And everything looks fine. I want to put a format on it. So I go to chart layout. Number 1 is the most common. I click on it. So let's put in this box, axis title, dollars. Or if I'm in some foreign country, it's the currency. And the chart title, here we're going to do something fun. Once you have chart title in the box, I can then go to my formula, hit the equal sign, click on that. When I hit enter, it takes what was in that cell and makes an automatic title for my graph. So if I were to change this cell up here to 2013, I come down and my graph has changed with it. So graphs can be interactive. Okay, I just finished showing you that graphs can be interactive, and we're working on our output. So let's bring, there we go. We want to make sure that June shows up. If I click in my chart, I could probably make my chart a little wider there. Okay, bring it into the middle, click out. So let's put, so this line here shows that we're cutting this. So we'll put a page break right over this. So page layout and a break. Insert page break. Alright, and then we're going to take E through J and we're going to group them, our old friend. And that will allow us to fold it up and then print out our report for July, August, September, October, and November. So let's see how it looks right now. If we go look at our text, there we go. We have our report, January through June, and then I go to the next page and I have my chart and my variance summary report. Looks good. I see one thing missing. We are going to put a footer, custom footer. There we go. So now let's fold them up and let's see what our output looks like. And if we did it right, there we go. So now we're looking at our output. That's interesting. It took our budgeted number. I don't like that. But at least it shows us what we can be seeing. So that's better than nothing. We'll put it back here, open it up, and we're good to go. So let me just take a look at our 4. There we go. And go back and look at the data. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so we've got that report. Don't know why it's putting an extra space. And then when we wrap it up, oh, I see what's missing. Okay. We really should have taken those bars out. I was thinking that I wouldn't need to. So let's fix our bars. We're going to put no border there to get rid of our edge. And then we're going to highlight the whole bar and give it a thick box border. Okay, so we'll do the same thing here. We'll put in some light blue, and then we'll get rid of the border here, and then reborder this. There we go. Now when we fold it up, it should look a little better. There you go. We still can't see our rate. Let's see, what can we do about that? Let's go. Okay, I thought about it, and the answer is so easy I feel stupid. We're going to take that and we're going to copy it right there. Okay? It's not going to make any difference to our standard costing. Okay, the standard cost still resides there. The information is still distributed to all of the various calculations. But now, when we go and we fold up our information, we have it right on top. So now our output looks like that. So there we go. I also found another problem when I was looking at that. And that problem is one that you need to watch out for on the test as well. And that is that February has 28 days. March has, let's see, January, February, March has 31. April has 30. May has 31. 30. 30. 31. 30. 31. 30. 31. Okay, so let's double check that. January, February, March, April, May, June. Let's see, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. July has 31. Okay, and I'm going to go and check because it's late and I don't want to release a mistake. July does have 31. Okay, so we're good to go. We've got our days right. We've got our output looking good. The only problem you're going to have, I think, on the output would be that your second page folded up. This page has a nice looking chart on it. However, if you fold it up, your chart's going to get smushed. So you might as well just move it out of the way for your second page. So if I print now, oh, I still have the chart selected. There we go. If I print now, there's page 1 and page 2. So, pleasure working with you this semester. That is your last Excel project. Hope to see you in Accounting 386, where we go and do advanced projects. You still have a QuickBooks assignment to do, and then you're done for the semester. So give me a call or an email if you have any questions and would like to go over them before the test.